Pride is a brilliant chameleon, taking on form, color, size, age, knows no boundaries. And there's a diversity of pride. There's not just the pride that says, I will ascend to the throne. God, move out of the way, I'm here. That's the easy one we all know. There's spiritual pride that's so neatly tucked in to each one of our, oh boy, hear this, spiritual crevices. Because you may read that somewhere else. But I'm speaking exactly in the spiritual realm. A spiritual pride that says, well, not me. I don't have that. How many times have I said to you? I've been addressing this on festival. There are people that are so full of pride, they can never humble themselves. There are people that are so full of pride, they can never say, I was wrong. They are so full of pride that they cannot see themselves. You know, when they look in the mirror, they don't even see themselves. The pride is so thick. And yet, if you ask them, they'd say, not me. Do you know that the possibility for that attitude, you may say, wow, that's big, but the possibility for that attitude resides in each and every one of us until there is a breaking down and a killing of that which God says he detests. Pride. Why? Because it is the one thing the most connected to Satan. It's the one thing that, if you were to put your finger on, resembles most the one thing that caused the fall. It's just the one thing. It's always that one thing, by the way. It's like a bad marriage. But what I'm saying to you is, when I look at this, I understand God is constantly doing this work. Don't think, well, now I've got my pride under control here because God's done this work. That pride will not root its ugly head somewhere else down the road. These are the things that, if I don't bring this up and we don't discuss this in this type of a forum, they're things that people will tell you, well, that ought to never happen to the Christian. The believer never goes through that. Read Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress and see all the personalities that he penned in that great work, and you'll see, maybe you'll see yourself there in a few of those characters. That's the journey of the Christian. So while God's doing this killing process, if you will, and it's lifelong, whether it's wisdom, whether it's pride, and for some people, it's something so simple, righteousness. And until you come to the point, you'll know, by the way, when the work has been done, that one particular starting point of God's activity of killing that which he doesn't like in the spiritual realm, is you will utter the words, all of my righteousness is as filthy rags, and you'll mean business. It won't be like, yeah, you know what, there's some vestigial goodness back there, and you know, it belongs to me, God, and I earned it, so there's a little crumb back there that's actually my righteousness. He says it's all bad. Until you come to that place, and you know that you have, and that God has done that operation of killing something spiritually wrong with you inside, it's not by the manner and means that he's used to do it. It is the fruit and the effects. The mouth is no longer going around saying, I told you what I used to do. Somebody asked me if I'm a good person, or does it, I said, well, I'm basically a good person. Well, that's a lie. I'm not basically a good person. I'm basically a corrupt person. Corrupt according to deceitful desires and lusts, corrupt according to the ways of being born in this crock of clay, the Adam person we are wrestling with. Now, I used to walk around saying that, and then God started to do some work in me, and then I think some of you remember this. We had a parishioner, he's not here anymore, but he used to complain that I was self-abasing myself because he didn't understand that when God begins to do a work in you, killing those spiritual diseases which he hates, and they're not killed once, they rear their head over and over again, by the way, just to be sure. So none of you think, I think I've arrived or you've arrived. But this person used to complain. Why does she abase herself like that? Well, God was doing a work, and suddenly it dawned on me that, before God, I'm just a speck of dust. And I was dust stuck on dust. Now I'm just dust blowing in the wind. And hopefully it is not God's hot wrath blowing my way. That's when your mind starts to change and you think, there's these progressions in our walk. I may actually be standing with a yoke around my neck before God in the spirit of bondage because I did not yet understand the fullness of my depravity as a human creature. Until you come to that point, you'll still be saying, I'm okay, I'm good, everything's all right. The difference between God doing that work and killing something he dislikes in you and the ones who God has not yet begun to work in, you'll notice how quickly when spiritual things are pointed out to you and brought to light, you're much less resentful. You're much quicker to grab hold of. Things like me instructing you and saying, if you've gotten off the track, go back to Psalm 51 because it's against God that you've sinned. You work your communion out with God first, and all these other things will settle very quickly. They'll either become distant and further away and not so important in your life, but it's that first breach of communication. Go fix that. You go talk to God. So, in the process of God doing these things, there's the process and the activity of killing these spiritual diseases, as we'll call them, and then the process of healing. See, God never does one thing over here and then leaves you to spin like, okay, listen, I'm going to chop this out of you here. Pride, for God to get at pride, sometimes he's got to bring you so low, so he's able to dig down deep and actually get to the root, like an evil root that you can't, like a weed, you can't get rid of. He goes deep to the root to cut the thing out completely, sometimes bringing you so low you can't understand why you are so low in your spirit. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yes. This will make you reconsider when you hit those low moments in your life. That maybe the low moments are not a product of what the TV ads will tell you, that you either have depression, low T, or migraines. But maybe God is actually doing something as a part of this which I'm trying to say. And you know that God will not be digging out a root of pride while you are standing on the mountaintop. He's going to make sure that when he digs deep to take out that deep root, he's going to bring you low too as well. There's not going to be some, I'm up here and God's doing that down there. You're both going down, you and your pride.